All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
First, we want to give all praise, glory, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. In the name of our priest and king, Yahweh Shai. Shalom and blessings to the 12 tribes of Israel. And blessings to the heathen that are called by the name of the Most High. We are continuing our study of Gentiles and strangers according to the Bible. So we're going to finish up in the Torah and go into the prophets and the writings then, and hopefully down to the New Testament. So hopefully this lesson may be edifying and enlightening to you as we try to get the true biblical understanding of the Gentiles and heathen and how we're supposed to deal with them according to Scripture. So our first passage we're going to look at is Psalms chapter 119, verse 104. As we get started in this lesson, Psalms 119, 104.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 119 and 104. Through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way.
So through the precepts, we get understanding. So when we properly use and align the precepts together, then we should get the proper understanding. So if we have the Spirit of the Most High, we're going to hate every false way. So we're here to search and get the understanding of the truth. Not what man wants, but we want to know the Scriptures according to what the Most High wants, because He's the director. He is the author and finisher of everything. So we're trying to get the proper understanding by aligning the precepts correctly. Next, we're going to go to Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 1. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight.
So a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. So we want to have be like what Fox News tries to be. We want to be fair and balanced when dealing with the Scriptures. Have a fair and balanced approach when I'm going to these Scriptures to get the proper understandings. So Most High does not like unbalanced approaches. It says a just weight is his delight. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
All praises. Yeah, go to verse 2 also.
Verse 2. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom.
So we got to be humble when doing these lessons and bringing these Scriptures out, because with the lowly comes wisdom. So we should never be at a point where we can't learn nothing new. You always got to be open-minded and let the Most High increase you as His will. So you got to be humble. All right, so going to the lesson, understanding the strangers and heathen according to the Bible, I got a question for everybody. What do Christian churches and some of the Israelite congregations have in common concerning strangers and heathen? Yes, sir.
That Jesus died for the heathen. He died for his blood covers all nations.
That's a good one, but I have something else, something in mind different. Anybody have any other guess what they have in common? Christian church and some of the Israelite congregations.
That we should all love each other, no matter who we are.
Oh, that's not quite what I was looking for.
Okay.
What I also had in mind is that Christian church and some of these congregations teach that the law is only for the Israelites, only for the Jews. As you can see, camps on the street saying the Bible is only for the Israelites. So let's see what you guys agree with that. Then you guys heard that before then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Christianity
Right.
promotes us being heathens and Gentiles, so we got to keep the laws.
Or repentance is only for Israel.
Right. Well, that is part true, but let's start off with Numbers chapter 15. Numbers 15:15.
15:15.
Yes, sir.
I read that earlier. Book of Numbers, chapter 15, verse 15. One ordinance shall be both for you of the congregation, and also for the stranger that sojourneth with you, an ordinance forever in your generations. As ye are, so shall the stranger be before the Lord.
In verse 16.
16. One law and one manner shall be for you, and for the stranger that sojourneth with you.
Oh.
Okay, so the law is for everybody, and the base of this story lesson is that Israelite is supposed to be the light to the Gentiles. So the Gentiles want Israel is supposed to be the gatekeepers to this truth. Because go to Psalms 147, 19 and 20. Because Most High gave Israel the commands, and Israel is supposed to be the priests to the rest of the nations.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 147, verse 19 and 20. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
So it shows that that Most High entrusted Israel, our forefathers, to be the gatekeepers for this truth and get the knowledge of the Most High. So all the other nations got to come through Israel, come through us, the people that the Most High appointed to get this knowledge and understanding. So the law is for everybody, but there's an order in learning it. That's why you have Christianity, they don't teach the law. Catholic, they don't teach the law. Islam, they don't teach them the law of the Most High, but Israel does. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 20, starting verse 12.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 20, verse 12.
Or so I can start at verse 10.
Verse 10. When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it, and it shall be, if it make thee answer of peace, and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee. And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it.
So beautiful thing about reading the Torah is that and reading scriptures that it has a spiritual attribute and a physical attribute. So when the Israelites were going out to war, they gave each city a chance for peace. So today our battlefield is spiritual warfare. So we're not fighting the part of physical warfare. So we're out there battling people, people that might not look like us from other nations. We have a responsibility to come to them in peace and say they want to adhere to what we're teaching them. And if they do, then all praises. But they don't, then and they disrespect you, then you have you come at them at a different angle. Then. So we shouldn't be constantly attacking people just because they're another race or nationality, without giving them a chance to hear the word first and decide what to do with it.
Salakia. I just wanted to add to that. A lot of us don't know what our nationality is because of the intermingling and mixing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a scripture that talks about be careful how you approach people. I'm paraphrasing here, but you could be dealing with an angel. You know what I'm saying? Or you could be dealing with a brother and not know. You have a lot of Israelite camps that always talk about Mali's and Edomite, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But when they see what looks like an Edomite, you know what I'm saying, in the plainest sense of the matter,
Mm-hmm.
they assume that they go by assumptions. We always say that we shouldn't go by assumptions because you never know who's an Edomite or who's an Israelite. So you can't just call people an Israelite because they look black, or they're dark skinned, or they look Hispanic. Or you can't call people Edomites even if they look, you know what I'm saying, like a Caucasian. You know what I'm saying? It's not our job because that's what what did the Lord say? To raise up the wheat with the chaff. You know what I'm saying? And the angels, when they come, the reaper's going to come, they're going to separate. It's not our job to cause separation because we don't have that type of spiritual discernment and power to know. You know, and you can't tell just by looking. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you can read the spirit, but you can't read the spirit with just your eyes.
Because technically we look like Africans, you know?
Yeah.
We look
You know?
the same as Africans, because when you read Amos 9 and 7, it says, "Are ye not like the children of Ethiopia unto me, O Israel?"
God.
That's what it says. You know?
So
And also isn't Lenny Kravitz like a chocolate covered Edomite also?
there are many Edomites that are out there. You know what I'm saying? That we think we would consider to be Israelites. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just if you just look at them. You know, and like I said, you can't say in one sentence it's not about color, and then every time you see a dark-skinned person walking down the street, it's like you're an Israelite. You know, or you see an Edomite person walking down the street, it's like you're an Edomite.
Tia and
You know what I'm
Tamara,
saying?
the twins, they're Edomites.
They're Edomites.
Yeah.
So we have to always remember that we're just servants. You know what I'm saying? We're all servants, and we follow what the Torah says, what the book says. You know, the book says to be careful.
I got the
in your
precept.
pride. Okay, go ahead.
And this is Hebrews 13:2. What the other was talking about.
Hebrews
says-
13:2?
Yes. It says, "Be not forgetful to entertain strangers,
Mm.
for thereby some have entertained angels unawares."
Mm.
So yeah, there it is right there. We need to be careful in how we deal with people because
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying. You have to be. We want to be righteous judges. You know what I'm saying. We don't want to be hypocrites. So
And sometimes the Most High throws a test in our way to see how we respond.
exactly.
And you might pass the test, or you might fail the test. So you got to be careful.
Exactly.
Anybody have anything else to bring?
Anything you say or do, you have to deal with in the end.
Right, where Most High is going to hold us accountable for our actions.
That's right.
All right, let's do it. Isaiah 49, 5 and 6.
Say 5 and 6.
Yes.
You said 5 and 6.
Yes, Isaiah 49.
Oh, shouldn't have checked.
Got there? Right, 49 and 6.
I got it.
Good, bring it up.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 49, 5 through 6. And now saith the Lord that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord, and my God shall be my strength. And he said, It is the light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth.
So the Most High has given, the waking of Israel to be a light to the Gentiles for the salvation of the earth. Now, some people might say, well, the Gentiles are the lost Israelites. Well, in this lesson, we'll go to examples where it's showing that there was other nations that was enlightened by an Israelite, and they to come to the Most High and serve Him. People that are clearly not Israelites. So this one look into in the next example. Let's look at Joshua chapter 6, verse 22. Yeah, start there.
Book of Joshua, chapter 6, verse 22. But Joshua had said unto the two men that had spied out the country, Go into the harlot's house, and bring out thence the woman, and all that she hath, as ye swear unto her.
Continue.
And the young men that were spies went in, and brought out Rahab, and her father, and her mother, and her brethren, and all that she had. And they brought out all her kindred, and left them without the camp of Israel.
Continue.
as they burnt the city with fire, and all that was therein. Only the silver and the gold and the vessels of brass and of iron they put into the treasury of the house of the Lord. And Joshua saved Rahab, the harlot, alive, and her father's household, and all that she had. And she dwelleth in Israel even unto this day, because she hid the messengers which Joshua sent to spy out Jericho.
Constantly, this is an example of Rahab being spared from the judgment of Jericho. So we know that America is destined for judgment too, just like Jericho is. But we gotta be mindful that there may be a Rahab out there too that the Most High has said to hear and receive this word. So you gotta be open-minded. We're out there teaching and keeping an eye for Rahab and those that got the eyes to see and the ears to receive this truth. And Rahab, the harlot, ended up being a very significant woman in the history of Israel. When you look at Matthew chapter 1, verse 5, she's listed in Joseph's genealogy. She is one of the matriarchs of King David's line in Yahushua.
I got a precept. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 7. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 16, verse 7. When a man's ways pleases Yahweh, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him.
Come.
So, even in the midst of war, you know what I'm saying, somebody who you may consider to be your enemy, you know what I'm saying, the Lord could put the Spirit upon them to help you.
To look out for you.
Yeah. That's
That's a good passage.
That goes all out for like people like that say, "You're an evil, get away from me, you're the devil."
Right, when they could be a blessing to you.
no, if they show you differently, then the Lord has given you discernment to use discernment.
Yes.
That's when you use wisdom, you know.
Mhm.
But you don't automatically, like, you know, we supposed to be men that are quick to anger. We're supposed to be wise men, you know.
Yes.
This book is a book of wisdom, you know. So you read this book, it gives you wisdom. These scriptures, let me say, not this book, but these scriptures.
Come.
And there is a lot of Israelite groups that attack people like that.
Yeah.
Instead of being the light, they're
They're the darkness.
the darkness.
They're the deep pit.
Shame.
They can't wait to kick the other nations in the lake of fire. So,
Wow.
some of these other groups. Let's look at 2 Kings chapter 5, starting at the top. Another example.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 5, verse 1. Now Naaman, captain of host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper.
So this is about Naaman. He was a captain or general for one of Israel's enemy countries of Syria. So keep going.
And the Syrians had gone out by companies, and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife.
So he had a Israelite maid that he got from war, serving in his household. Continue.
And she said unto her mistress, Would God my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for would recover him of his leprosy? And one went in and told his Lord, saying, Thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel.
Oh.
And the king of Syria said, Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed and took him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment.
So Naaman the captain, he got a case of leprosy, which is, I guess, which turns your skin white according to the scriptures. And he was looking for all kinds of cures and answers, and the little Israelite lady that was serving in his household told him about the God of Israel. He said to seek one of the prophets, and if you believe in the Most High, he can help you of your ailments. So he's getting ready to go meet the prophet. I think it's Elisha then. So for time's sake, we're going to skip down to verse 14 now.
Verse 14. Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean.
Wow.
So he took the advice and the wisdom of Elijah and baptized himself in the river, dipped himself in the Jordan River 7 times, and Most High restored him then. As having the flesh of a child, can't get better than that. So,
Wow.
So like, yeah, one point I want to make out is that the prophet dealt with that heathen.
Wow.
he didn't turn him away,
He
right?
didn't tell him what he actually tell him what to do to heal himself.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's very powerful right there
Yeah.
in itself. You know, if they come humbly, and they seek our Lord, we're supposed to give them aid.
No, he said, Esau, get out of here.
That's powerful.
That is. Keep reading.
Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And the flesh came again like unto the flesh as a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him. And he said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel.
Hallelujah.
Wait, read that again.
Now, and he said, Behold, now I know there is no God in all earth but in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant.
Wow.
So he bear witness that there was no other God but Yahweh, the God of Israel. Then. So he denounced his gods and cleaved on to the God of Israel. Continue.
But he said, As the Lord liveth, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he argued him to take it, but he refused.
So you see that Elisha was a real man of God, and he did not do this for the money of serving the Most High. He refused to take the gifts from Naaman because it was the Most High that restored Naaman, not him. So Elisha was a real man of God. He was like one of these mega church pastors. Continue.
And Naaman's his name?
Yes.
I was calling Naaman.
Yeah, Naaman or Naaman.
And Naaman said, Shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 rules, burden of earth? For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offerings nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Continue.
In this thing the Lord pardoned thy servant, that when my master goeth into the house of Ramon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Ramon. When I bow down myself in the house of Ramon, the Lord pardoned thy servant in this thing.
And finish up at 19.
And he said unto him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a little way.
So that was an example of Naaman, one of the most powerful people in Assyria, receiving the truth of the Most High and coming to the Most High and serving Him. So that's an example of Israel being a light to the Gentiles. So we know that there's Israelite Gentiles, but there's also natural Gentiles too. So I mean, everybody has an opportunity to receive the Most High.
Con.
So we gotta be open-minded.
I got a precept.
Okay, bring it out.
Well, it's not really a precept, it's more like another instance in where the Lord dealt with a heathen.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? This is Genesis chapter 20, and we'll start with verse 3. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. So that's just proof that even the Lord requires that the heathen obey his laws. Because this is about Abraham and Sarah.
Right.
When Abraham and Sarah told Abimelech that they were brother and sister, which really wasn't a lie, you know what I'm saying, because they were brother and sister according to the scriptures.
Actually, it's his niece.
Yeah, you know, they were family.
Right.
And Abimelech, the Lord said he would kill him for being with another man's wife, which is what? The sin of what? Adultery.
Yes.
You know? But, you know, long story short, Abimelech never lay with her, and he said to the Lord, would you kill me? You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know, you know? The Lord said, I'm the one that made you not lay with her. So just to point out that the Lord spoke to Gentiles, as well as he spoke to him in a dream. So the Lord actually dealt with heathens, even in the ancient days, you know. So we can't say that this book had nothing to do with them, because they knew that law was powerful, and this is before Moses. You know what I'm saying? Before Moses was handed down any commandments, you know. So this was a law. These are laws that people knew, you know.
Right.
So.
Con, get us in. Con. Next, let's look at Daniel 4. Was Daniel was able to bring light up to the Gentiles in Babylon. Daniel 4. Start at the top then for context.
The book of Daniel, chapter 4, verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and the wonders that the high God has wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house, and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me of the interpretation thereof.
So his people couldn't help him with all the dreams. The soothsayers and the magicians, the charmers, they had no clue what to do for him. Continue. Verse 8.
Verse 8. But at the last, Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubled thee. Tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions of mine head and mine bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beast of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and an holy one came down from heaven. He cried out loud and said thus, Hey down the tree, and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves, and scatter his fruit. Let the beast get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth to it whomsoever he will, and setteth up over its spaces of men. This dream I, Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. Then we can read?
Okay, so the Most High is putting Daniel in a position to reveal to Nebuchadnezzar the power of the Most High by giving him Nebuchadnezzar this vision. And this reminds me of in Genesis 2 where the Most High gave Pharaoh a vision to elevate Joseph and show his power to Pharaoh. So it's the same thing where Daniel interprets the dream, and Nebuchadnezzar goes through the hell that the dream prophesied. And then the result is, we're going to skip down to verse 34.
Verse 34. And at the end of the days of Nebuchadnezzar, and at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and my understanding returned unto me. And I blessed the Most High, and I praise and honor him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation.
So this is Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian, where the Bible bears witness that he praised the Most High and gave him glory and honor. It recognizes his greatness. Continue.
And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven, and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, What doest thou? At the same time my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom mine honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me.
Wow.
I'm going to finish it out, please.
Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth, and his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase.
Hallelujah.
And because some of you guys might not be familiar with the story, but from the vision, the Lord had to humble Nebuchadnezzar because he thought he got all his power and might of himself, not of the Most High. And for a period of time, things like 7 years, something like that, Nebuchadnezzar took a hiatus from his throne, and he was crawling through the jungles and fields like an animal. So the Most High had to really humble him to get his attention. But then when the time was fulfilled, the Most High restored Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar realized that it was the Most High that put him in position, not of himself. And he's given honor and glory to the Most High and credit after that. I mean, so he then have the opportunity, have the ability also to give credit and glory to the Most High, just like Nebuchadnezzar, Naaman, and these other Gentiles that the Bible shows. So the Most High is the God of everybody, but through Israel, the knowledge is supposed to come.
So this kid went through a misery
Right, he did.
because of that. Daniel actually warned him of this dream of what he was gonna go through. And if he would have listened to Daniel, he would have avoided this misery.
Living like an animal in
Yep,
the woods.
in the woods.
He was telling him about the gold statues that your kingdom rests, all your kingdoms root from the golden statues down to the thing with the clay and iron mixed with. We're in that kingdom right now because clay and iron is very weak. You know, you see this society is weakening, and so while it's there's division one and another that shows lack of weakness, and that's when the Most High is gonna strike and set up His kingdom. You know.
Right. God. We all know the story about Jonah preached to the Ninevites, and the Ninevites received the word. Also, so I mean, that's a whole heathen nation there, but I know some Israelite camps have the audacity to say that the Ninevites were lost Israelites, which is ridiculous, which is absurd. Well, let's look at Jeremiah 38. Like we said earlier, that passage Yakim brought out, Proverbs 16:7. When a man pleases the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with you. Sometimes you might have to depend on heathen more than your own brothers. We'll look at the example of Jeremiah 38, where a heathen rescued Jeremiah when his brothers turned his back on him. Jeremiah 38, start at verse. Alright.
38 and 1.
Yeah, start at the top then.
Then Shephatiah, the son of Matan, and Gedaliah, the son of Pashur, and Jekal, the son of Shelemiah, and Pashur, the son of Malachiah, heard the words that Jeremiah had spoken unto all the people, saying, Thus saith the Lord, He that remaineth in the city shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. But he that goeth forth to the Chaldeans shall live, for he shall have his life for a prey, and shall live. Thus saith the Lord, This city shall surely be given unto the hand of the kings of the Babylon's army, which shall take it. Therefore the princes said unto the king, We beseech thee, let this man be put to death, for thus he weakeneth the hands of the man of the war that remaineth in this city, and the hands of all the people in speaking such words unto them. For this man seeketh not the welfare of the people, but the hurt.
So you see that, so these rulers of Israel wanted to put their own brother Jeremiah to death for speaking the words of the Most High. Because he was telling the truth that they need to surrender to the enemy army instead of fighting them and holding off the kingdoms. So Jeremiah's own brothers wished death on him. Continue.
Then Zedekiah the king said, Behold, he is in your hand, for the king is not that can do anything against you. Then took they Jeremiah, cast him into the dungeon of Malchiah, the son of Hamelech, that was in the court of the prison. And they let down Jeremiah with cords. And in the dungeon there was no water, but mire. So Jeremiah sunk in the mire.
So why did they do this to Jeremiah? What crime did he commit? Speaking the words of the Most High, speaking the truth, they punish him for that. His own people did it.
Wow.
Now go to verse 7. This is interesting.
Now when Ebed-Melech,
Ebed-Melech,
Ebed-Melech, the Ethiopian, one of the eunuchs, which was in the king's house, heard that they had put Jeremiah in the dungeon, and the king then sitting in the gate of Benjamin. Ebedmelech went forth out of the king's house and spake to the king, saying, My lord, the king, these men have done evil.
Wait, what did he say?
My lord, the king, these men have done evil.
So what nationality was this? An Israelite?
He was an Ethiopian.
He's an
He was a
Ethiopian.
Cushite.
Yeah.
Con. So continue.
My lord, the king, this man had done evil in all that they had done to Jeremiah the prophet, whom they have cast into the dungeon, and he is like to die for hunger in the place where he is, for there is no more bread in the city. Then the king accompanied Ebedmelech the Ethiopian, saying, Take from hence 30 men with thee, and take up Jeremiah the prophet unto the dungeon before he die.
Wow.
So Ebedmelech took the men with him and went into the house of the king under the treasury, and took thence old cast clouts and old rotten rags, and let them down by the cords into the dungeon of Jeremiah. And Ebedmelech the Ethiopian said unto Jeremiah, Put now these old cast clouts and rotten rags under thine armholes, under the cords, and Jeremiah did so.
Now, do you guys notice that the Bible wants you to make sure that this is an Ethiopian or Cushite that's helping Jeremiah, because it says it 3 times.
Ethiopian.
Ebedmelech the Ethiopian. So they want you to know that this was not the Israelite, but he
was a heathen.
Right, heathen. Con. Continue.
So they drew up Jeremiah with cords and took him out of the dungeon. And Jeremiah, and Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison.
So question, who was more of a brother to Jeremiah? Was it the rulers of Israel, his brethren, or the Ethiopian?
The Ethiopian.
Ebed-melech.
Wow.
He's more of a brother to Jeremiah than the Israelites.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, so sometimes a heathen can be more of a brother or friend to you than your own people.
2/3.
Than the 2/3, right? And 2/3, that's a lot of people. There's 2/3 is bigger than 1/3. So that was an example where the heathen was more of a brother to Jeremiah than his own people. So you gotta be careful how we deal with people, because you never know if you might need them sometime.
Yeah. That's right.
So we can't judge a book by its cover.
Okay.
So a lot of you guys that are out there disrespecting people from the way they look, you're not operating in wisdom. And you're not representing the Most High.
Con.
You got to use spiritual discernment when I'm dealing with people, because you never know who the Most High has chose. And I got a question now: can heathen be anointed?
That's a good question.
What do y'all
Cyrus.
think? Man, you all right, let's see if Cliff is right. So Cliff says yes. Anybody else say yes or no?
Yes.
Possibility.
Cyrus was anointed. He said he is my my chosen vessel.
All right, let's pull up Isaiah 45:1. You're not gonna see no camera bring this out.
Cliff, come over here, man.
So we're gonna have to teach next time.
Hey, which camp taught you that, brother?
I actually learned it from Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, you're not gonna learn that from music like camp, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 1. Thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand have I holden, to subdue nations before him. Salakia. And I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the 2-leaved gates, and the gate shall not be shut.
Con, somebody look up the word anointed, what is it in Hebrew?
Mashiach.
Mashiach.
Mashiach, yeah.
So King Cyrus, the Persian was a Messiah. He
Yep.
was anointed as a Mashiach.
Anointed one of the Messiah.
Wow.
Come. So there's heathens out there that may have an anointing on them.
Wow.
So that's why it's important to deal with the Bible in its entirety. We can't just use isolated scriptures to push a doctrine that we want. We're supposed to be representing the Most High, not ourselves.
Con.
We deal with the Bible in its entirety.
You keep reading?
And that was just the point.
That
we
was
made,
just the point? Alright.
Example of Cyrus being the Mashiach. Cyrus the Persian. All right, now let's look at 2 Chronicles chapter 6. And this is similar to 1 Kings that made that you brought out earlier also.
Yeah.
So this is Solomon's prayer. I think it was dedicated to the temple.
What verse, you got?
Please start at verse 32.
Second Chronicles 6 and 32.
32 and 33.
This is the book of Second Chronicles, chapter 6, verse 32 and 33. Moreover, concerning the stranger, which is not of thy people Israel, but is come from a far country, for thy great name's sake, and thy mighty hand, and thy stretched out arm, if they come and pray in this house,
Continue.
then hear thou from the heavens, even from thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calleth to thee for.
Wait, so you see that? So it says, if the stranger, calls on Most High, which is not of thy people. So this is not lost Israelites. So they made it clear in this verse, in verse 32. So they come and stretch out their hand and pray. Then Solomon's asking the Most High to hear their prayers, to receive their prayers, and do what they request as well. Continue.
Do according to all that the stranger calleth to thee for, that all people of the earth may know thy name, and fear thee, as doth thy people's Israel, and may know that the house which I have built is called by my name.
Wow.
Come. So does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Con.
How many camps have you seen bring this passage up?
No, I haven't heard this from anybody. The first time.
So some of these camps are like the Christian church, and where they keep passages away from you.
Wow, what a shame.
I mean, that's why we left Christianity, because they kept a lot of passages away from us.
That's right.
But now we went to the camps, and they're doing the same thing too, so they can trick you and use semantics to give you a false narrative and understanding of the scriptures, not the full narrative. So that's why it's important to teach the Bible in its whole entirety.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
Does anybody have anything else to bring out now?
Anybody know what time it is right now?
It's 4:23. So this was, I want to take our time to take the scenic route in the Old Testament to show what the Israelites did in the Old Testament before we get into the New Testament. Because in the New Testament, people have a tough time distinguishing between the Gentiles that are heathen and Gentiles that are Israelites.